Hello, hi, welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see, I'm doing my nails and I'm just going to do a voiceover instead of trying to find music that doesn't have copyright issues with YouTube. Plus, it seems like people prefer voiceovers. I know I do. I would rather, pardon me, I would rather watch a voiceover video of someone doing nails than just hearing the music in the background, honestly. So yeah, I will just pop in here and there if I feel like something is needed to explain. And otherwise, just enjoy. So, just in case you're not familiar with dual forms, I am filing off the majority of the product, partially because at this point I believe I filmed this a while back, but I believe that I was long overdue for a new set, so there were some, plus I'm kind of rough on my nails, so there were some lifted spots, but also I wanted to change out the color. So this is what I do on, pardon me, on clients as well. If they are wanting the same color, or if they're getting a solid color, or just something that is going to be covered by the design, then I won't file quite as much down unless it looks like they really need it. But in this case, I needed it to be filed down quite a bit. And you can see when I'm touching the edges like that, I'm just kind of hitting the lifted spots. So yeah, this is the reason for the majority removal like that. And the whole video, I believe I'm going to be showing both hands. So you can see how I hold the drill with my non-dominant hand to file my dominant hand. So yeah, I'll let you keep watching and I'll pop back on if I feel like anything else needs explaining. Also, if you are a nail tech or just a DIYer that does their nails at home, find whatever works for you specifically as far as holding the drill with your non-dominant hand. This is just what works for me. I know that there are people who, I don't even know how I would explain it exactly, but there are people that hold the drill a little bit differently. Kind of like you would hold a knife, if I can explain it like that. So yeah, that I've tried it like that. It feels weird and awkward. I just prefer holding it like I would with my other hand, with my right hand. So, yep. And I try to find different ways to make it easier, where I can utilize my right hand to assist my left hand when it comes to filing and doing them in general, putting the product on, etc. So you'll see more of that as the video goes on. You'll also notice that I didn't really cut much of this video out. I just kind of left everything in for the most part. And yeah, so apologies whenever you see my head and hair pop in here and take over the video, and then you can't really see my nails. Hopefully it doesn't happen too much throughout the video, but yeah, apologies in advance. Hopefully you can mostly see my nails, so there we go again. I might end up cutting some of this out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I did end up having to cut a chunk out because it was mostly my hair and glasses that you could see instead of my nails. So apologies for that. So to my point earlier, as you can see here, I move my hand every which way when it comes to working with my non-dominant hand. Because for me, again, that's just what works. It's easier to see all the different sides instead of trying to move my head. I can just move my hand around, my fingers around to see the other side, and see if there's anything else that I need to get. One of the many reasons why I am starting to film more and I will be posting more to my YouTube channel is not even for, yes, for educational purposes, probably would be my main reason, because I know dual forms aren't super, super popular in the US right now. They're gaining more popularity for sure, but there are still plenty of people who haven't heard of them. So yes, that is one reason for posting, that I will be posting more regularly, but also I'm kind of doing it for my own reasons. Because I like to see where I am wasting time, and I just saw a whole bunch of wasted time when it comes to filing. Honestly, that is my main time waster, I would say, when it comes to the whole process of me trying to learn how to do sets in a quicker manner. I have definitely found that filing eats up the majority of my time. So that is something I'm working on, and not being a perfectionist and hitting every little thing, because with this process specifically, I think doing nails in general, but since this is the process that I'm most familiar with because I've done the longest, when you're working on one process, like doing the carbide bit, you don't have to be super precise, because your next step is going to be the sanding band or the hand file, whichever you prefer, and you're going to be able to get a little bit more of that product with that process, and then the next process, so on and so forth. So I'm telling this to myself more than anything, honestly. But if you also struggle with time, this is something that I've learned and am still learning to not be overly, what is the word I'm looking for? Perfectionist, yes, but not overly concerned with every tiny little detail, because I will get to it with the next step, if that makes any sense. So yeah, long way to say posting these videos helps me, or editing, doing the voiceover, all of it just kind of helps me realize of what I'm wasting time on and what I can just move the heck on with, and not just spend this long on one nail. It's driving me nuts just watching it. So hopefully it's not driving you crazy watching it. But it definitely lets me know what I can work on. Also, something to point out, I know that there are some nail techs, or again DIYers, whichever, and again whatever works for you, but just letting you know my process. So I know that there are some people who will reverse when they're doing their other hand, and I am not one of those. I just keep it in forward the whole time. The only time I reverse it is when I'm doing you'll see when I do my cuticle prep with the flame bit, or whichever bit I choose to use, but the flame bit is the typical one that I use for most of my clients and myself. That's the only time I will flip it and reverse it. And I'm going out of frame here. But yeah, just wanted to make note of that. I just find that keeping it in forward is easier for me. So as you can see here, I just did the sanding band a little bit on this hand just to generally get it roughened up, if you will. And then I'm using the hand file to blend. I don't always do this, but sometimes it's easier to do this with my non-dominant hand than it is to use the sanding band for everything, because you can, if you know how to use the sanding band, you'll be fine. And if you just lightly touch it to your nail, you know, especially when you get to your natural nail, you'll be fine. But it is very easy to overfile, and then you'll have rings of fire and just a really thinned out nail bed. So you don't really want that. So yeah, I just find this works really well if you need assistance with blending the product to your natural nail, or just making it smooth and the nail or the sanding band is not really getting the job done without it being painful. Or, I mean, it should never be painful technically, but it does happen occasionally if the nail is, or if the enhancement, whatever you use, acrylic or gel, is really thinned out. And especially if you have lifting and you're filing over the lifting. So yeah, just overall, when working with your non-dominant hand, this can just be I don't want to say better method, but kind of, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here. Also, I'm sure that you can see whenever I grab the little nail brush, I'm kind of doing that. I do that at the end, of course, before I move on to the next step, but I'm also doing that to see if there are any other little areas that are lifted and that need to be filed again. So on to the next part. Now we're doing primer. And I only prime one hand at a time. Just makes more sense so I don't get, because obviously it's sticky, so I don't want to get a bunch of fuzzies stuck to my other hand when I'm using that hand, if that makes any sense. So yeah, when filing, I kind of go back and forth. Carbide bit, both hands, sanding band or file, both hands, and then dust off, and then just the primer on one hand. Do the whole process, and then switch my other hand. But you'll see that here in a little bit. Now I am just getting the base coat on. I just kind of get a glob of base coat on each nail, and then I go in with my brush, the same brush that I used to apply the hard gel to the dual forms, and I'm just kind of scrubbing it in. You can scrub a little bit more aggressively if you want, but I'm just getting it in there. Yeah, there, I scrubbed it a little bit. Ooh, this is kind of hard to watch. So I'm telling myself, okay, Ashley, that's good. You went over that like 15 times. You really only have to go over it like maybe 3 or 4 times technically for it to be fully covered. Like, it doesn't need that many strokes. Jesus. Okay, now we're curing. Oh, and I think I left the whole thing in here. We're just going to cut some of this out. On to the next process, or the next step, whatever I'm trying to say. Okay, so now we have the hard gel out. We're getting the dual forms out. I love these dual forms, but the only thing I hate is so this is something to be aware of if you're looking for dual forms, if you are interested in doing them yourself, or if you're a nail tech who is interested in doing them. If you do decide to buy a set like this, just so you're aware, if they have multiple different types of dual forms in one, you're gonna have this issue, which is not each box. How do I describe this? I mean, you can kind of see by looking at it, but each box contains the different style of dual forms instead of each little box containing different sizes, if that makes any sense at all. Hopefully it does. I was trying the different styles to see if I would like the shape of them, but I just went to my tried and true. Basically, I bought this thinking that I was going to be able to use all the different types, and I might one day if someone wants like really long extensions, but so far I've only used 2 of the different, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the 8 different types of dual forms here. I've only used 2 of them, but still worth it, because I think that this kit entirely was $6 or $7, so it's still worth it. It's just annoying because you basically have to, I'm not doing that here, at least not yet, but when I use it for clients, I just pull this section that I'm working from right here. I pull the whole pile out so I can go through all of them and find the right sizes. So that part is kind of annoying. But we just deal with it. Okay, so now we are adding the hard gel to the dual form. And in a way, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I also changed this based on every client and their nail structure. So for my nails, especially when I file a lot of the product down, they're more on the flat side. So I add the product, and then sometimes if I feel like I need it a little bit more, like in the apex area, then I'll add just a little bit more there. And then for some clients that have more arched nails, I will do less product at the cuticle because, of course, it's not needed. If you have a high arch already naturally, then you don't need as much product. So, yeah, I just adjust it based on the client. And then I try my best not to get any air bubbles, but sometimes it just happens. I know that there are some nail techs that do dual forms, and they are really, really slow with this part and very careful just so they don't get air bubbles. Again, this is, I believe it's personal preference. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. Or you can just slap it on like I do. And I'm closing that, and I don't know why I'm closing that because I'm going to need it open again. I do this almost every time. If you haven't seen dual forms applied before, you apply them and then you turn the hand over so you can get the excess from the underside. And then I put the excess back into the jar. So that's why I said I'm going to need the jar open again. I don't know why I closed it. Also, when you can't really see that clear here because it's kind of zoomed out. I did that just so I made sure I stayed in frame, but this is the part that I'm talking about where you have to, see, I have to undo it again. I take my orange wood stick and scrape the underside. I'm out of frame. Hopefully I will realize and get back in frame or adjust the camera. Yep, and then I just flash cure. It's, Ashley, come on now. I didn't need to flash cure it that long, especially with this gel. It cures pretty darn fast, especially when it's clear. Anyway, what I was going to say is the mistake that I made when I first started doing dual forms is, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I would press it down kind of like I would a Gel X because I did Gel X before I did dual forms. So, there is a slight difference in the sizing and in the application. So basically with dual forms, you just really want to get the cuticle area pressed down pretty good. And then you want to look and make sure both side walls are covered. Like the natural nail is covered on the side walls. So press down the cuticle area, make sure both side walls are covered, and then cure that top area. Before I would press down the whole entire thing, and then it would just squeeze out the sides. And then of course you risk, which it did a little bit there, but when I initially first started dual forms, I would press way too much and it would just have a bunch of spillage, and then you are messing with the apex, which is of course messing with your structure, and then you're going to be more likely to have breakages and chips and all of that because your structure isn't proper, or isn't the structure is not structuring. I feel like dual forms are just constantly a learning curve and a work in process, and every hand is different, every nail shape is different, there's so many nuances to it. So even after doing it for 3 years now, or almost 3 years, I feel like I'm constantly learning. So yeah, this part right here, if you see that when you flip the hand over that you need to add a little bit more product, either for length or for strength, then you can add a little bit more and cure it. And now for my favorite part, popping the dual forms off. It's so satisfying. A wee bit more satisfying when you can hear it, but I don't know. I guess I could have just edited that and extracted the sound, but here we are. It's still satisfying to watch. Okay, so I am just moving on to the next hand, the other hand. Sometimes I will, just because I have some sensory issues, not gonna lie. So sometimes the jagged edges of, I'm sure you can clearly see that, of my other hand without being filed drive me crazy. So typically what I do is after I remove the dual forms, I will wipe with alcohol, which I think I already did. I just didn't show it, or cut it out of the video, whichever one. But anyway, I'll typically just like take the hand file and just file the edges and then move on to the next hand, just so they don't bug me the whole time. But yeah, now we're working on the other hand. So I just applied the base coat. I was kind of out of frame for that, I believe. And then I always try to do as much as I can with one hand because I get bored while each hand is curing. That's the nice thing about doing clients, is while their one hand is curing, you work on the other hand. But of course, doing your own nails, you can't really do that. So I usually will have a show or YouTube video or something playing in the background, just to help with the I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I am just applying a thin layer of hard gel after doing the base coat. I don't do this with every client, but sometimes I will with clients that have nails similar to mine, where they're just kind of thin and just need a little bit of extra structure. Plus it helps with, if you like watching people do nails, and specifically dual forms, I highly recommend the YouTube channel, or her Instagram, Jenny J Nails, I think is the channel name. It's Jenny J, and then Nails is Nailz, I believe. Yeah, love her channels. Very educational, but this is something that I learned from her. It just adds another protective layer for whenever you're filing around the cuticle area with the thin carbide bit. It's just another layer of protection to your natural nail, so you're not drilling into your natural nail. And when here I was pouring acetone so I could dip my brush and I guess wipe whatever excess if I made a mess on my... I'm out of frame, so I wouldn't know. Well, I'm probably just going to cut some of this out because this is annoying to watch. Sorry. Okay, so here I am just measuring to know how much to take out or add to the other thumb. I can't remember if I do this on every nail. I don't think I typically do, because usually once I get the feel for it, then I just go from nail to nail. But again, I filmed this quite a while back, a few months ago. So I don't remember exactly if I did this on every nail or not, if I just did it on the one. Because sometimes I do it in this process, and sometimes I do it when I'm filing. Either one works, or both. And sometimes I will do it on this process, and then I'll have to do it again when I'm filing, because I decide that I want shorter when I thought I wanted longer. So it's just kind of a go with the flow in the moment. So here I'm just kind of going back and forth and making sure that I don't have any bubbles, and it goes to the cuticle area but doesn't overflow. Also, sometimes I will do one nail at a time, so I will do the applying the dual form, flash cure, apply the next one, flash cure, and then turn the hand over. And it just kind of depends on how the weather is. The hotter it is, then I typically have to do one nail at a time. The colder it is, then it allows me to kind of do all of them. Oh, here we go again with me getting out of frame, getting my big head in the frame. Let me cut some of this out. If it keeps happening, yep, looks like it's going to keep happening. I forgot to move the camera back. I wanted it angled toward the light, and then I forgot to move it back so you can actually see what I'm doing. All right, let me cut this out. Okay, so now we have popped off the dual forms on my right hand, and I like doing this. You can go straight in with your hand file. I just like taking my carbide bit and getting the length that I want, and just kind of the gist of the shape that I want. And then you'll see I will file underneath with this bit. Not as detailed as I do with a smaller carbide bit, of course, but just to get like the bulk, if there's any bulk, to get that off. Just makes hand filing, I've found, a lot easier. And using the carbide bit to get the majority off like this and get the shape that you want is just, it's quicker than using the hand file for the whole thing. At least for me personally, unless you're just really quick and fast with the hand file no matter what, then do you. But I just like this process most of the time. most of my filing my other hand with the carbide bit, like I was explaining earlier, for my dominant hand, using my non-dominant hand, was blurred out because my head kept getting in the way. So here we are. Now the next step. This is also something that I've learned from Jenny J Nails. She just kind of has a streamlined process for filing that just really helps you. If you are anything like me and an overthinker, if you just do, basically when I would just try to file each nail at a time, I would try to get each one perfect. And then I'm still going back over. I still have more filing to do. So I'm just going to keep filing and filing and filing and making more imperfections and filing again. It's just such a waste of time. So I've just found doing it like this is a time saver, even though, again, filing definitely eats up the majority of my time, I would say. But this has cut down my time significantly. So just think of it kind of like a factory type process where you just do one of everything, bam, 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 then the other side, then the other side. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I guess the more you watch it, you'll know what I mean. So I'm just filing the sides. I do the inside part, the outside part, and now I'm going underneath. And I need to sneeze. False alarm, I didn't need to sneeze. Thought I did. My allergies are crazy right now. Anyway, so now I'm filing underneath. Just kind of going back and forth to get the shape that I want. And yeah, I'll just jump back on if I feel like there's anything else that needs to be explained. Oh yeah, so this is something that I do when I'm doing my own nails, because of course it's a whole lot easier than having a client's hand and moving it and maneuvering it however you want to. But I will look at it from this angle and then flip it, look at it from the other angle, so I know which areas need to be filed a little bit more, like so. And you'll see I just keep moving it back and forth, like away from me, closer to me, just so I can really get a good view of the shape and what needs to be corrected. I definitely overdo it. Oh my gosh. That's the thing too, I've been trying to tell myself when I'm here recently, especially when I'm doing this process specifically, because I will be going back with the thinner carbide bit whenever I file the cuticle area and then file the underside. So I'm trying to remind myself that, at least for me, filing the underside, it kind of creates a couple imperfections in the shape. So there's not really a need to be this particular like I'm being right now with every little part of it. So yeah, hopefully as we go and as I post more videos, we can see some improvements and I can be getting better on my time. Fingers crossed. Also, I don't recall seeing it. I don't think that I use the cuticle bit. So usually with other clients, I don't always on myself because I don't really have, my cuticles aren't really that bad. Like they're kind of non-existent, honestly. So I do kind of base this on the client, but usually I will do a cuticle bit and then a sanding band, or vice versa, whichever one. But it doesn't look that I did that like I did that for myself. So you can do a cuticle bit after this process with the carbide bit to lift the cuticle and then cut it. But I honestly don't even cut my cuticles every single time. Like I just do it as needed because I really don't have that much growth on my cuticles or like the dead skin. And there was something else I was going to say about that. Oh yeah. So whenever I do a soft gel overlay or a hard gel overlay, I do the cuticle work first, cut the cuticles, and then apply the hard gel. But with dual forms, as you can see, you get pretty close to that cuticle skin whenever you're filing with the carbide bit. After, of course, after removing the dual forms themselves. So that is the reason a lot of us who do use dual forms don't typically do the cuticle work until after the fact, because that skin, obviously, especially depending on the person and if they have sensitive skin anyway, it's just more sensitive, and it's virtually impossible to not touch that skin because you're so close to it whenever you're filing that hard gel from around the cuticle area. So it just makes more sense to do the cuticle work after the fact and cut the cuticles after the fact. So yeah, that's the reason for that. Okay, so for this part, filing underneath, when I am using my right hand and either on a client or on myself, and I'm filing, obviously on myself, it's just going to be for my left hand. I will stay in forward the whole time. But when I am using my left hand and filing my right, hope that's clear enough. But I mean, you can see that I'm doing that here. I will switch. So I don't know if you can see that, but I will do one side in forward and the other side in reverse. Because I've found when I'm using my left hand, if I don't do that, a lot of times I will just do like, a little around the world moment where it just spins around the nail. And a lot of times it will just cut like a chunk out of the top or out of the sides. And then I have to do another dual form. So it's just kind of a waste of time. Because it's just a little harder to be that careful when you're using your left hand. Yeah, and for some reason, I thought I recorded more of this. I thought I did my nail art as well, but I guess I didn't. So hopefully y'all enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thank you.